One man is dead, 4 presidents are silent, and the truth is now leaking. Edgar Lungu is dead, but what killed him wasn't the illness that he left Zambia with. It was an illness that appeared after he arrived in South Africa.
This is now Sunday, and then as we are heading towards Monday, the doctors came back to inform Mrs. Lungu that they had found germs in his lungs, new germs which President Lungu did not come with.
He didn't use a Zambian passport when he traveled to South Africa. He used the Zimbabwean one. His family just bought a house in South Africa.
The Zimbabwean name at Med Forum. So at Med Forum, they used that passport from Zimbabwe to evade the fact that people don't come and say the president of Zambia is sick in this hospital. They then used the Zimbabwean passport for admitting him in that hospital. Unfortunately, he passed away under the act.
And HH, the sitting president, said he won't talk about it until the funeral is done.
We'll pick them up after the funeral. We'll pick them up after the burial.
Oh, I think a lot is not going to go well, particularly post this standoff and this.
This isn't about Zambia anymore. It's about Zambia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Namibia. And one dangerous question: was Edgar Lungu eliminated, or was he being protected by his own alliances? Edgar Lungu was sick when he left Zambia. That's true, but his condition wasn't critical for him to be evacuated urgently. But after being admitted in a South African hospital, something changed. A new illness was found, and the next thing, he was gone. This wasn't just a death. It was a transformation, a quiet exit hidden in medical language. Then came the shocker. Edgar Lungu never traveled to South Africa with a Zambian passport. He used a Zimbabwean diplomatic passport. That doesn't happen by accident. That means the Zimbabwean government knew about and authorized. Now think about this. Mnangagwa, the man in charge of Zimbabwe, went to the same school as Edgar Lungu, trained by the same system, part of the same generation, and the same brotherhood.
Yeah, well, besides being president, we were students together. We are former students together in law school. So he's really my college mate. So there's a lot of history between me and him and several other Zambian leaders, because I had all my education, my university in Zambia.
So did Mnangagwa help an old friend escape or disappear? When asked about Lungu's funeral, President HH refused to comment. Instead, he said he will comment after the funeral and he will deal with it. What does that mean? Is it a warning to Lungu's allies and the PF, or is it a warning to us people so we could not ask any questions about it? This wasn't just silence, it was political ice. But here's the question that nobody's talking about. Why would Zimbabwe and South Africa help Edgar Lungu? Maybe because they don't trust HH. HH is close to the West and brought AFRICOM into Zambia. And Ramaphosa had tensions with the US after Donald Trump embarrassed him. So HH is seen as Washington's puppet, then Lungu becomes the regional fallback. And when you share a past like Mnangagwa and Lungu do, that past becomes a plan. In politics, the enemy of your enemy is my friend. There was a time when Lusaka became the capital of African resistance. Nelson Mandela first came to Lusaka right after prison. SWAPO was formed in Lusaka. ANC and ZANU-PF were trained and took shelter in Lusaka.
When he got to Lusaka today, Mandela seemed more like a traveling head of state than a freedom fighter. There was Zambian President Kenneth Kaunda treating Mandela as a political equal. There were the thousands of Zambians celebrating a national holiday in Mandela's honor. His message was optimistic, reflecting the reforms in white-ruled South Africa.
We are on the verge of a breakthrough in our struggle for freedom.
And together, all these nations sang the same anthem. But today, the anthem still plays, but the unity is gone. They say HH doesn't belong to that generation, and many leaders from that region don't see him as one of them. Now the whispers begin, a theory long ignored, now coming alive. What is it? Plan B. Lungu's death was a political setup. It was a move to create sympathy and a path to create for somebody else to rule. Maybe for his daughter, or maybe for a loyal PF successor. Lungu himself rose quietly after Saka's death. And if South Africa and Zimbabwe helped him disappear quietly, was it a political disappearance? And where are the voices? Namibia silent, Zimbabwe silent, South Africa silent, and Angola completely silent. A man dies, passport exposed, a funeral held in a foreign land, and foreign leaders say no single word. This isn't silence by accident, this is silence by design. And here's the twist, the Lungu family just bought a house in South Africa, not for mourning, not in Lusaka, but for moving forward. Why buy a house now? And why buy a house in a country where your loved one died? Unless the plan was to never return, unless the story was meant to end across borders. This was never about sickness. It was about power, it was about betrayal, and it was about who controls the narrative. A man walks into a hospital alive, a new illness discovered, a new passport discovered, a family buys a house in a foreign land, and presidents say nothing. So I ask again, was Edgar Lungu eliminated, or is he still alive? Or he's somewhere far away from Lusaka waiting? Let me know what you think in the comments. This is Johnson, and this has been A2A.